A lot of times when we are in the holiday seasons, it's easy to have that 6 week period where you just eat whatever and you're like, this is the holidays. And then once January comes, then I'll get back on track. Well, in this video, I want to share with you 10 tips on how you could avoid that holiday weight gain and still enjoy the holiday season without carrying those extra pounds with you into January. A lot of these tips I've been personally doing because last year I was bitten by a tick and I ended up getting 3 autoimmune illnesses from that tick bite. And so I made some drastic changes to my diet. I cut out gluten, I cut out dairy, and I cut out processed foods. And so now we're into the holiday season and I'm still motivated and committed to staying on track with that diet. And so I've been having to follow these tips myself. So thankfully I can say it's been working and I'm still enjoying the holiday season just as much as I normally would, which is awesome because a lot of times when you have to make drastic changes to your diet, it can be pretty challenging and it takes work. So without further ado, I'm going to share with you all 10 tips on how you could avoid holiday weight gain and go into January without those extra pounds. So let's get started. Tip number 1, don't go to parties and events when you're starving. It's time to get rid of that I'm saving my appetite mentality. I have been guilty of that myself, where you want to just save your appetite so then that way once you get to the party or you get to the event, you can just enjoy eating whatever you want. Well, newsflash, that's not going to help you, because if you are saving your calories and not eating throughout the day so you can enjoy at that event, you're going to be starving, you're going to be ravenous, and you're going to be a lot likelier to make unhealthy choices and not be as focused on staying on track. Because when you're starving and there's all this good food around, a lot of times all that focus and all that commitment goes out the window and you're just going to want to eat anything in sight. So my advice to you, get rid of that saving my appetite mentality and just eat balanced throughout the day, and just make sure you have something earlier before the event starts. And that way you can go into the event not being, super hungry. You don't want to be full, but you don't want to be super hungry either. You want to just be comfortable. And that way you can stick to your plan and not overdo it. Tip number 2, create a CPA plan. And no, I'm not talking about accounting. I actually just thought about this acronym the other night and I was like, oh, that's pretty good and easy to remember. So the C stands for commit, the P stands for plan, and the A stands for accountability. So let's talk about each one a little bit more in depth. The C stands for commit, that you're going to stay on track. Because mindset is everything. You can have the most fancy plan in the world as far as how you're going to stay on track, but if your mindset isn't on track, then you can throw that plan out the window. So I just want you to really commit this holiday season that you're going to do things differently. Maybe you're used to doing things a certain way and just eating whatever you want and kind of just enjoying the holiday season and all it has to offer. But maybe this year, just commit to saying, even though I normally am like that, I'm going to just commit to doing things different. I'm going to commit to still enjoying my holiday season without going overboard and gaining all this weight. The P for CPA stands for plan. So come up with a realistic plan. Depending on what your goal is, it's going to look different, but come up with a realistic plan that's going to help you to stay on track for your goal, whatever that is, whether it be to maintain your weight throughout the holidays, whether it be to lose weight throughout the holidays, or stick to a certain diet, where you're cutting out certain foods or ingredients. But just make your plan ahead of time. You don't want to wait till the day of. Please don't wait till the day of or right before the event. You want to think it out. Give yourself at least a day or even more. A lot of times I've been thinking things out even weeks ahead, depending on what it is. But I'll just kind of start thinking about, okay, when I get to this event, or for instance, for Thanksgiving, I thought out what my Thanksgiving plan was going to be several weeks in advance. I was thinking, okay, what I'm going to cook for Thanksgiving. what I'm going to eat for Thanksgiving. So make sure you're proactive in coming up with a good, realistic plan. Realistic. Don't come up with something that's unrealistic. Come up with something that's realistic that you can stick to, but that's going to keep you on track with your goal. And the A stands for accountability. So find an accountability partner that you can report to before and after each thing you have going on. So if you have a holiday party to attend, find somebody that's going to keep you accountable. For me, it's my husband. He does a really good job keeping me accountable. So I'll typically give him my plan. I'll tell him what I'm going to eat and what I'm going to do. And once the event's over, I'll report to him and tell him how I did. And this has been really helpful because I'm not going to want to give him a bad report. And then saying it out loud too. Just saying it out loud helps you to just process that's what you're going to do. And when you say it out loud to somebody else, that's really going to help you to process that that's what you're going to stick to. All right, so that's the CPA. C for commit, P for plan, and A for accountability. Tip number 3, recreate your holiday baking recipes. So swap the bad ones out for healthier, more nutritious options. So for instance, cheesecake. That's something that's pretty good to enjoy throughout the holidays, right? Well, since I'm not eating gluten, dairy, and processed foods, I learned to make a healthier cheesecake that's gluten-free, dairy-free, and processed food-free. It's made from all whole ingredients. So instead of using a bunch of cream cheese, I learned how to use cashews for the cream, the cheese. Instead of using a bunch of graham crackers for the crust, I learned how to make a crust using nuts and dates. And honestly, this cheesecake is really good. Surprisingly, it is really delicious and I don't feel like I'm missing out. I actually made this cheesecake for Thanksgiving and I didn't feel like I was missing out on dessert at all because it was a really tasty, delicious dessert and it was very satisfying. And because it's full of whole foods instead of a bunch of processed foods, I felt a lot more satisfied eating it because it was nutritious. So what are some recipes, some desserts that you normally eat? Cookies, cakes, brownies, whatever those things are. Just look up some healthier options if you're trying to do gluten-free, dairy-free, or whatever it is. Switching out flours, switching out sweeteners, just different swaps that you can make. So that way you can still enjoy a version of that dessert, but just in a much healthier way. Tip number 4. Freeze holiday desserts and treats that are given to you. So during the holidays, we're typically given like holiday desserts like pies or cakes or different treats from other people as gifts. And I really enjoy getting those as gifts and normally I really enjoy eating them. However, this year I had to pass that up because I'm trying to really stay on track with my eating plan. So what I found that was helpful is I will take those, like for instance, like someone gave you a pie that's in its package, never been touched. So I will just take that and I'll put it in the freezer and I will save that for a potluck or an event that I'm invited to. And I'll just bring that dessert. I'll take it out of the freezer the day of and I'll let it thaw out and I'll take it to the event that evening. And that has been so helpful because that way I'm not wasting the gift of dessert that somebody gave to me, but I'm not pressured to feel like I have to eat it either. Just make sure it's not something that's been eaten off of. You want to make sure it's, packaged, it hasn't been touched. And that's just like you have a store in your freezer rather than going to the store and getting a frozen pie and baking that. You're just getting it out of your freezer and you're taking it. So that's been super helpful to me this holiday season. Tip number 5. Yeah, this one's kind of funny because I just told you to bring the dessert, but if you don't have, different desserts hanging out in your freezer, you can offer to bring a healthy dish to a party or potluck event. So you'll have at least one thing you can eat. So, you can take the dessert too as an option, but you can also bring a healthier option, say like a salad or a vegetable dish or something that you can eat. Bring that with you so that way you have at least one thing that you can enjoy eating during that event without getting off track. Tip number 6, skip eating dessert at the event and enjoy a delicious and nutritious smoothie when you get home. That way you have a treat you can look forward to when you get home. So this is something in particular that has really helped me, because normally during the holidays, I really enjoy desserts, all the different desserts that they have. But instead, what I'll do now is I will think to myself, okay, I'm not gonna have these desserts. However, when I get home, I'm gonna make my really good smoothie and I'm gonna really enjoy that instead. So the smoothie I make is really healthy, whole foods only, but it's very tasty. It's like a dessert. I make a bunch of different types of smoothies, but the one I typically will make after an event is like a dessert smoothie, but it's whole foods and it doesn't have a bunch of sugar except from the, obviously from the fruit itself. And then I use stevia as my sweetener. But these smoothies that I make are really satisfying and they help me to not feel so bad that I can't have the desserts at the event because I have my smoothie when I get home. Tip number 7, plan a weekly weigh-in, which also keeps you accountable, because after all, ignorance is not going to be bliss. A lot of times we'll think, oh, it's a holiday season, I'll just enjoy everything I want to enjoy, and then I'll get back on track in January. Well, if you're doing these weekly weigh-ins throughout the holiday season, you're going to see how you're doing. You're going to see if the scale goes up, and you're also going to see if the scale goes down. And if the scale is going up, that's going to motivate you to make the changes before they get out of hand. So I really recommend doing a weekly weigh-in just to keep you in check. And that way you're not having that ignorance is bliss mentality where you're just enjoying all this stuff. And then in January, you get on the scale and you're like, what happened? I gained all this weight. So it just kind of helps you to stay on track throughout the season rather than having that buildup of pounds to have to lose in January. Tip number 8, recreate some of your favorite holiday comfort foods by swapping out unhealthy ingredients for more nutrient-dense ones. So I talked about this earlier about the desserts, but you can also do this with your different comfort foods of the season. For instance, for Thanksgiving, I really enjoy eating turkey with homemade cornbread dressing and cranberry sauce. Well, the cornbread dressing that I normally make has a lot of processed foods in it, and it has gluten. And so I had to recreate my cornbread dressing using like a gluten-free flour, and I was able to learn how to make a homemade cream of chicken myself without having to buy the canned cream of chicken. And honestly, it was really good. The dressing was so good. It didn't taste like anything different. So that was really cool. Even my brother-in-law, he had seconds of it. And I was like, did you know that this is like gluten-free and only made with whole foods? And he was like, no, I couldn't tell the difference. So I did that with the dressing. And then I also made a cranberry sauce this year without using a bunch of table sugar, because normally the cranberry sauce I make has a lot of table sugar in it. And so I was able to get a healthy option for a different sweetener, and the cranberry sauce tastes good too. So I was able to have the same, turkey dressing, cranberry sauce, that same trio that I really enjoy, but I just made it in a much healthier way with using only whole ingredients. So what are some foods that you typically enjoy throughout the holidays, and what ingredients can you swap out to make it a lot healthier? So you can look on YouTube. There's a bunch of different recipes out there that swap out, if you're trying to do gluten-free or dairy-free or whole food focused or whatever it is. But yeah, just swap out the ingredients so that way you can recreate the things you love in a healthier way. Tip number 9, use a food tracking app. So this also, like weighing in each week on the scale, this keeps you aware of everything you're eating, and it keeps you more accountable, because the more accountable we have to be, the more likely we're gonna stay on track and not gain those holiday pounds. So there's a bunch of different food tracking apps out there. Just take a look at the different ones and find which one works for you. But the main thing that I like about having a food tracking app is it's clearly shows you if you're, trying to maintain your weight, or if you're trying to lose the weight, or whatever your goals are, you're able to see how many calories each day you should be eating, and stay on track with that. Because a lot of times, we'll think we're eating this amount of calories, but once we do that food tracking app, we're really eating this amount of calories. We're like, what? I had no idea I was eating all that. So this really just helps you as far as awareness, and it keeps you accountable. You're also able to log in your exercise, your activity. It helps you to log in your water intake and just a lot of other things in addition to your foods and your calories. So I just really have found this helpful to help me stay on track, because it just helps me to be aware, and it helps me to not just do a lot of mindless eating, because I know I have to log it in. The cool thing about this too is a lot of the food tracking apps have a scanner, so you can scan the different foods that you eat, the barcodes, so that way you don't have to spend time, searching for them. It'll just populate as soon as you scan it. So that's really a nice feature. And then the longer you do the food tracking apps, you're gonna have like your whole list of different foods that you eat. So that way you don't have to like keep re-logging or, researching for the foods, because it's gonna be populated in there already. So I'm able to log in my food in just a matter of minutes. It doesn't take very long at all. It's not super tedious. And so just make a habit of logging in your food, so that way you can know how many calories you're eating, you can know what you're eating, and it'll help you to stay on track and not gain those extra holiday pounds. All right, so the final tip I want to share with you is tip number 10, and that is don't hibernate just because it's winter. Make a commitment to do some type of exercise each day, but make sure they're activities that you enjoy. So don't do a lot of activities that you just hate doing, because you're not going to stick with it. Find activities that you actually really enjoy doing, and just try to implement those activities throughout the week. So for me, right now, I'm really enjoying Pilates. I also do like workouts in my backyard. Well, I'll do like power walking and a little bit of jogging. I'm not doing a whole lot of running right now, just because I have to stay away from like really high intensity workouts due to the autoimmune illnesses that I'm having. I have to keep my heart rate from getting too high, because I'm already dealing with a faster heart rate. But like I just do, different things that are within what I'm able to do. I like to do biking. I like to do dancing with my husband, like on the weekends. My husband recently bought a row machine, so I'm trying to implement that. So each day I'm going to be doing like one of those activities. Depending on what day it is or what I have going on, I'll kind of decide what activity is best to do that day. But just make a point to do something every day, but make sure it's something you enjoy, and just be consistent, just moving more. Don't get in that hibernation mode where you're just, want to bundle up and just stay inside and eat and watch movies. I mean, that's fine to do during the holidays, but you don't want to do that the whole entire season where you're just not moving, because that's an easy way to gain those pounds when you're not moving. So if you can do something at least 5 days out of the week, like I said, it doesn't have to be crazy. It can just be, something in the morning for 30 minutes. But just make a point to do exercise at least 5 days a week. If you can do 6, that's even better, but just do something each day where you're moving your body. That's going to help you mentally as well, to feel better, to feel more active rather than just hibernation mode. Because when you're in that hibernation mode, you want to eat more and eat those comfort foods. But when you're moving more, you're going to want to just stay on track more with your eating. It goes hand in hand. At least for me, it does. So yeah, move more, don't hibernate. So those are my 10 tips for you to avoid the holiday weight gain this holiday season. And I hope they are helpful to you. If you find these tips helpful, please give this video a thumbs up. And I'd like to hear from you. I know I normally say this in the videos, but I really would like to hear from you. It's so encouraging to see, which tips are helpful to you, which tips you're going to implement. I like to know. So please feel free to write those down in the comments so I can take a look at what you're going to be working on, and we can do this thing together and go into January without having all of this extra holiday weight to lose. So thanks again for watching this video. And finally, I want to invite you to join this community by clicking that subscribe button. And that way you can enjoy more videos like this and just be a part of this community. I would love to have you. So thanks again for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.